Now, for more on the North American Summit and its significance, let's bring in Diane Francis, an American and Canadian journalist, author, and a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, Diane, given what's happening in the economies of the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, just how significant is this particular summit?
What's the significance? Well, I think this is an annual summit. It's called the Three Amigos, and this has gone on for many years. But, you know, with Brexit as a backdrop, terrorism, and the U.S. election, there's quite a dampening effect on what these leaders can say they are in agreement on and what will actually happen. If you take, for instance, the TPP, which Obama's in favor of, Hillary is not in favor of it, Donald Trump is not in favor of it, and Justin Trudeau in Canada has not come out either way. So I give it very little chance of going ahead. But it was a warm meeting, and I think it's mutually beneficial for the three.
And as you mentioned, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the TPP, depending on who you ask, it's either a huge boost for trade and a job creator, or it's all these secret handshakes behind closed doors that threaten workers' rights, intellectual property, and other issues. So what impact do you think they'll specifically have on the US, Canada, and Mexico if it does go through?
If it does go through, I don't think it will. I would really be shocked if it does go through, because I don't think either candidate in the U.S. wants it, and Trudeau's not going to do it unless the United States wants to do it. And Mexico will be, you know, cautious about doing it if the U.S. and Canada doesn't do it. I think that there are benefits, there's no question, but what everybody is now kind of realizing is that whether it's the Brexit situation, tremors going on or NAFTA, as voiced through the U.S. election, the middle class of the developed nations have suffered at the expense of giving opportunities and jobs to the developing countries. There is no question about that. And I think maybe a threshold has been reached for a while. That's sort of my personal opinion.
So as we look at this North American Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, in terms of how committed all countries are to this deal, would you split, or do some have more to gain in this?
I think they're all beneficiaries. I think they're all committed. In fact, Mexico talked about an even deeper integration with Canada and the United States. This is obviously in light of the possibility of a wall being built by Mr. Trump should he win, and that sort of thing. You know, there is a real concern on the part of Mexico and Canada, who have benefited as much as the U.S., maybe Mexico the most, with a protectionist presidency in the United States, and they want to sort of cement and solidify the NAFTA partnership. Now, it may be changed and altered by, you know, a protectionist presidency, but it may stay the course, or it may get deeper. The wish of the two smaller partners is deepening of the integration.
Now, as we speak about integration, you did mention Trump and his building of this wall with Mexico. On the other side, you have Canada agreeing to drop the Mexican visa requirement starting in December. And that was actually a policy put in place by the previous conservative administration. So what are your thoughts on resetting that relationship?
The Mexico-Canada bilateral is a less important relationship to Canada than Mexico-U.S. Sorry, I've lost my earlug. It's less important, but nonetheless it is. So I think what you're talking about is more ease of tourism and travel and customs duties, and that's not duties, but customs passages between Canada to Mexico. But the real bulk of the trade is Canada-U.S., Mexico-U.S., and very little Mexico-Canada, except that, you know, we like them and we're in this together.
And just quickly, Diane, obviously we've seen that this is going to be President Obama's last summit here, the North American Summit. So in terms of how that relationship has grown over the past 8 years and what could be ahead when a new president becomes elected, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm not going to call the U.S. election. The election is heating up to becoming very close. The United States is very polarized, and I think it depends on the election campaign. Anything can happen. Either can pick the wrong running mate, they can say the wrong thing, or be blindsided by events. One of the things that Obama said today, which was quite masterful, his speech was quite masterful, but one pointed remark in all the friendship that was extended is that he made it very clear that he doesn't think Canada is pulling its weight as far as military contributions to NATO, and it actually is a laggard. And that's a very sore point in Canada and in Europe. And it was interesting that he made that point, and that was very clear.
Clearly a number of issues there to keep track of. Thank you so much for joining us, Diane Francis of the Atlantic Council.
You're welcome.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, CCTV-America.com.